Doubts about your relationship, don't say anything about your relationship. I am Pauline, and I am so happy you are here because still in almost 2025, we believe that doubts say something about your relationship, that you need to break up. This is not right, blah, 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 blah. And it's not true. It's not even close to true. Doubts can have so many different causes, so many different um, reasons why you have doubts about your relationship that have nothing to do with your partner or with your relationship. In fact, if you already know that you have the fearful avoidant attachment style and you're in a safe and healthy relationship, chances are very, very, very likely that you will have doubts in your relationship and also have the potential for enormous, beautiful, rich love. So, why is that? Why do those two coexist? Why do we then have doubts? Well, we have doubts because of our fear brain. Our fear brain is a part of us that wants to protect us. And as a fearful avoidant, you know you have gone through a childhood that was not free of trauma. And so there are things that your fear brain wants to protect you from. And guess what? Doubt is a protection mechanism. Doubt can be used by the fear brain to protect you. I remember when I figured this out because I have doubted my relationship, my feelings for 6 years very, very intensely. And looking back on it, it was a form of relationship, or it was relationship OCD. It just wasn't a thing back then. It wasn't I don't even think that the term really existed. So I didn't know. I just knew that I had these intense doubts about my relationship and about my feelings. Do I love them enough? Do I miss them enough? Shouldn't I feel more? Shouldn't I be more in love? And those were the thoughts that I had 24/7, including about 1,000 different ones. Um, and I was just convinced that these doubts were telling me that I had to break up, that this relationship wasn't right for me. I thought it was my intuition. It wasn't. Um, and there was nothing that I could find on the internet or psychologists telling me that this could actually also be something else. And so what I did was, maybe you don't even know this, but I realized that maybe everything I was thinking and feeling had something to do with the fact that I had a hard time accepting unconditional love. That was a small realization I had 2 years into my relationship with my now husband. When I had been doubting for 2 years, almost 2 full years. And all of a sudden, there was this thought that, I do know that I have a hard time accepting his love. When he is loving towards me, when he is unconditionally loving towards me, I kind of feel uncomfortable. That's interesting. This all sounds very calm now and rational, but I was just in a panic constantly back then. So it was this small realization, and I just thought, you know what? I want to make sure that I don't break up with him and then regret it later on, because I then figure out that it actually has something to do with me and my maybe inability um, to really allow love in. And so I decided I would work on myself really hard for 1 year. I would work on my self love and being able to accept love. And if after that year I would still want to break up with him, I would. And I was so scared of working on myself because I was convinced that I would realize or figure out that I would want to break up with him and that I had to break up with him, even though those thoughts had already come back again and again so many times. So yeah, I was so scared of doing this experiment, and yet I somehow did. I don't know how. I just kept going. And I started noticing actually quite quickly into the experiment that when I would work on myself and healing my fears and allowing myself to love myself more, I actually had more feelings for Aryan, my now husband. And it was such an interesting realization that this wasn't the relationship. It wasn't him. It could actually be me. So at the end of that year, I didn't realize that I had to break up with him. No, I realized that I actually loved him more than I thought. I felt more beautiful feelings than I had ever felt. And I had learned a lot about what I started calling the fear brain. So I started giving words to things that happened, or that I noticed in myself, just to make sense of what was happening. And so I started calling it the fear brain, that part that wants to protect me. And through working through this, I realized that this fear brain was actually trying to protect me by using doubts. So these doubts that I had about, do I feel in love enough? Do I want him enough? Do I miss them enough? Shouldn't I be feeling more? Shouldn't I be more in love? They were a way for me to not completely surrender to the relationship, because as long as I had doubts, I could justify not completely giving myself to the relationship, not completely committing. I was in the relationship, don't get me wrong. Like, we were monogamous, it was a committed relationship, but I started calling it the gray zone. I was in the gray zone. So I was in the relationship, I was committed, and in my mind, I was like in the gray zone, because I was constantly thinking about, should I break up? Should I feel more? Is this fair towards him? And I was constantly thinking about breaking up. And so that's like almost a gray zone, right? You're in the relationship, but you're not completely physically, mentally, emotionally in the relationship. And I realized that that was actually a very comfortable spot, even though it was riddled with fear and I did not like it. But for my fear brain, it was a comfortable spot, because I was so afraid of actually giving myself to the relationship. And what I now know, and I don't think I had figured that out at that point, was that I was actually really scared of connection and deep connection. So if you know anything about the attachment styles, the anxious preoccupied usually has a fear of abandonment. The dismissive avoidant usually has a fear of commitment. They are afraid to even really say yes to a relationship and be in a relationship. The fearful avoidant isn't afraid to be in a relationship. They have a intense fear of connection. So they have a lot of negative associations around that fear of connection. Again, not a term that was that was existing, I think, even now. But yeah, there is a third attachment style, so it would make sense that there is also like a third fear of. And for the fearful avoidant, that's the fear of connection. And so that gray zone is actually very comfortable to be in, because you can break the connection and you can justify breaking the connection or not even allowing the connection, because you have these doubts. I remember thinking, well, if I have figured this out, if I find the answer, the solution, then I can surrender to the relationship. And that moment never came, because every time I found a solution to a problem that my brain was obsessing about, there was a new problem that was coming. It wasn't that I had to figure it out and solve problems. It was that I was so scared of connection and I needed to heal that. So that was another journey in and of itself. But in that year, I learned that doubts are a protection mechanism. They allow you to keep your distance from other people. So that could be in relationships, but I also experienced it in friendships. That when somebody came too close, I started doubting. So I just started observing the patterns really closely and started observing when I would start having doubts. And I realized that a lot of those moments were when I was feeling vulnerable or feeling, how do you say that? Not capable or feeling dumb. And those were all triggers. Those are all universal triggers of the fearful avoidant attachment style. And I was just so afraid of rejection in those moments. I was so afraid that he would finally figure out that I wasn't good enough, that I was flawed, and that he would leave. And so I just kept pushing him away in a way when I would feel those things, when I would feel vulnerable, when I would feel incapable. And doubt served me because it allowed me to break that connection, but also protected me from the abandonment that I was absolutely sure would happen at some point. I just didn't know when. And so when you have doubts, your fear brain is telling you, well, oh, it wouldn't matter that much if they leave because I'm not sure about them anyway. I don't know if I love them anyway, so it wouldn't even hurt that much. And that's not true. It would hurt, but your fear brain is just trying to protect you for something it believes is inevitable, but it's not. There are so many people in this world that are just beautifully capable of loving you completely, who are pretty unconditional. So it is not true that everybody will just leave you. And I had to learn that. And when I started healing the roots, the real roots of the fearful avoidant attachment style, is when the doubts disappeared. And I just didn't need them anymore. I didn't need that protection mechanism anymore. And so it's, I don't think I knew, I didn't know that I had the fearful avoidant attachment style. And I don't think I knew that that these were the roots of the fearful avoidant. I mean, it was such a journey of discovery because there was nothing really known about all of this, about relationship OCD, about fearful avoidant attachment style. But I did notice that the doubts disappeared as I worked on healing my negative associations with connection. And I haven't had any doubts in 10 years now. We've been together for 16 years, and in the first 6 years I was just completely, constantly, incessantly doubting the relationship and my feelings. And after 6 years, we got married, and my wedding day was the last day that I had any doubt thought. And it was, shouldn't I be completely in love, intensely in love this whole day? And I could just laugh it off. I could just brush it off and say, you know what? I have a lifetime to be in love with my husband, and to put this pressure on me on a day that is actually also quite stressful, can be quite stressful, is not fair. So that was the last moment that my fear brain was trying to take hold of me with these doubt thoughts. So I want you to know that, first of all, doubts don't say anything about your relationship. It was actually because Arjen was so safe and was open to connection at all times that I just went straight to panic. It's so much easier to be with somebody or want to be with somebody that you have to work really, really hard for to have some sense of connection, when you have a fearful avoidant attachment style. And so because then you're in control. Okay, this is also another topic for another video, I think. If you want that, let me know. I'll write it down to not forget it. But yeah, that's the dynamic that usually fearful avoidants are in, that you want to work for connection because then you're in control. If you don't do anything, there's no connection. And Arjen was just so open and willing, and that was scary to my fear brain. And so it started finding different ways to deal with that, and that was doubts. So doubts don't say anything about your relationship. In fact, it could be that there is the potential for beautiful, enormous love there. And also, you can heal this. Still, there's this belief, even now, relationship OCD actually is a term, and it's thankfully getting more and more well known. There's still this belief that you can't heal from that, and that is just not true. That is absolutely not true. You can heal the fearful avoidant attachment style. You can heal relationship OCD, and not have these doubts, not have these fears. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's very well doable, especially if you know the roots of the fearful avoidant attachment style. And I believe that everybody can can heal. And I want you to heal. That's why I do these videos. That's why they're so long form. I always talk so much because I just want you to have everything that you need, all the insights that you need to heal. And I just want to support you on your healing journey, left or right, with these free videos, or in my program, Healed and Happy, where we actually go through the roots of the fearful avoidant attachment style and heal the roots, so that you don't need to, on willpower, need to break through these doubts or need to deal with these doubts and find a way to live with them. I heard multiple psychologists say that to me, like, oh, you will just have to deal with the fact that you know, have these fears. And I was like, nope, that's not gonna happen. And it didn't. I healed it, and I don't have these fears anymore that were causing these doubts. And so I just want you to know that that's so possible. It's so possible for you to live a life that feels safe, that feels calm, and yet also very, very fulfilling, because calm is not boring. It is fulfilling. It's so rich, and there's so much you can build from a feeling of safety, a sense of safety and calm. So if anything, take this from this video. And if you really are ready to heal the roots and you don't want to figure it out yourself, which I know you can, figure it out yourself. It might just take time. And if you have that time, do it, go for it. Every healing journey is beautiful. It's unique. And I just wish peace and freedom for you. If you want to kind of take the fast track and go through those routes, I have an online program called Healed and Happy, where we go through the routes. And it is a tailor-made program. I don't think I say that enough, but this is such an amazing program where you go through like a foundation pathway, as we call it, and you heal the roots of the fearful avoidant attachment style. And then after that, it's completely tailor-made. So you fill in a questionnaire to see where you're standing now on a lot of different things, fears, beliefs. And then me and my team assign you the next pathway based on what you fill in the survey. And so we follow your healing journey, and we just give you the tools that you need at that moment, the exercise that you need at that moment, the insights that you need at that moment. So we're very hands-on. We also have the possibility to ask us questions when there's something that you need to know about the healing journey. We're there for you, and we conform to you. You don't need to conform to a how do you say that? An online program that is quite static. So that's Healed and Happy, the online program. There's more information on that in the description below. And as always, I'm so happy you are here. I'm so happy you're watching these videos. I'm so happy you're learning about yourself. Hopefully, let me know if this video is valuable to you in the comments below. And also, if you have any other questions or any other requests for videos, let me know. I'm here for you regardless. I want to help you any which way. So thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Healed and Happy is a tailor-made online program where me and my team personally guide you through healing the roots of a fearful avoidant attachment style.